There are a lot of videos on how to organize your RV kitchen, but what works for some doesn't always work for everyone. Today I'm going to show you some tips on how you can organize your RV kitchen, no matter what size it is. Let's go down that road. Hello faithful people, I'm Maureen. Gary is outside. Let's see if we can find him. Gary is retired again.
I am.
So we're trying to get some things spruced up on our house before we leave. This needed another coat of stain.
Yes, it did.
It had gotten really well worn, so.
I'm doing it under here because we're expecting more rain. Big surprise.
Yeah. Had a couple nice days, but yeah, rain again. So anyway, I'm going to go back in and show them how I organize the kitchen.
All right.
In our last video, I showed you how I cook in my little tiny RV kitchen, and I did give you a little glimpse of a few things that we're doing to keep it organized, but I didn't really elaborate on anything. So today I'm going to show you some ideas, and hopefully these will work for you too. These should be tips that can be used in any RV. This is it. This is our RV kitchen. And really, compared to a lot of other RVs, we do have a lot of storage in here. This is all for the kitchen. Some RVs have more than others. This is pretty small in a lot of ways, and I'm going to show you just a few things of what we do to keep it all organized. This is my 7 cubic foot freezer and refrigerator. Not very big. And this is my stove, my oven. If you're not using your oven every single day, that's where I store my pans, pizza pan, and one big flipping thing, that big griddle flipper thing that doesn't fit in the drawer. This is where I keep my spices. And I try to keep them in order by how I use them. So for instance, anything that's more of the spicy kind of stuff, like more Mexican or East Indian kind of flavors, those go together. And if I'm doing more Italian, then those go together. These are all individual kinds of seasonings. But I do have a few blends, and this is one that I use quite often, this Italian blend here. And then we got some as a gift for some friends of ours who are faithful followers of our channel. This one is called Tuscan Sunset. I really like that one. I've used it quite a few times. And then these are all Penzeys spices. And lemon pepper, I've used that on chicken and on fish. This one is an herbal one as well. I've used that quite a bit. And then this one I've also used quite a bit. I've used them all. When I use a blend, sometimes the blends are nice because they put just the right amount of everything in them. Where when I do it, I don't measure. I just throw it on there what I think looks good. This is my stove, and that's how the cover goes up, and that reveals my 3-burner stove. We cook at home 99% of the time. We hardly ever eat out. So having 3 burners was important to me. I know some people only have 1 burner in their kitchens. I don't know how they do it. Maybe they don't eat at home a lot, but we do all the time. My microwave is not used as a microwave. It is used for storage, and I showed you that in our last video. I haven't used a microwave in years, and probably over a decade. So this is where I keep my cutting boards, my pot holders. My mother-in-law made these little soup bowl cozies, and we don't use them for that very often, but I like that they keep my little saucepans in together so they don't bang into each other when we're going down the road. I also have some hot pads up here too. I talked about this basket in the last video as well. This is our coffee basket. It has the coffee filters. It has the drip over, which you put on top of the coffee mug. And I showed you in the last video how I make coffee with this. And then we keep a small bag from a bigger bag in here of whole beans, and then this is our coffee grinder. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link to it up above, and I will also put it at the end of this video. The toaster is only out when we have electricity. We don't have electricity very often, but while we have it, we've been using it. We don't use it a lot, but we're keeping it out for convenience as long as we're stationary for a while. And then this is the blender, and I don't use that every day either, but that's a good place to store it. Now, it does not move from that location. This basket is used for produce, and right now we obviously have to go get some groceries. I usually keep my onions and sweet potatoes in here, or other kinds of potatoes. We don't eat potatoes very often, but it's usually sweet potatoes if we do it all. That's where I keep this kind of produce. If I don't have any potatoes on hand, I will put fruit in here instead. So I'll have oranges and bananas and things like that in there instead. When we travel, the toaster's not here, it's up in the cupboard. So this basket fits right in here, and then it doesn't slide around while we travel. RVs do not have a lot of drawers. So that's why I use the baskets for some of these things, because it's kind of like having a drawer on top of your counter. It just makes things a lot more convenient. You really didn't have a choice of what really went in the top one. This one made the most sense to use this for utensils. This is where I keep my tongs, my serving spoons, things like that. This is where knives and sharp things go. This is where serving pieces go, and my vegetable peelers. And then I try to keep those things in the right one each time, and always put them back in the same place. And that is a big key to keeping things organized in an RV, is to make sure you put things back where you got them. This drawer is for our silverware. We don't have a lot. We have 4 forks, 4 salad forks, 4 soup spoons, and 4 cereal spoons, 4 knives. This is what I use for blending dough or scrambling eggs or something like that. This is the best thing. These are just bamboo chopsticks, and they work really, really well. They work better than using a fork or better than using a beater, and they're a lot easier to clean. Also have some measuring cups and stuff like that in there too. You really can't have a lot. I mean, this is a lot of stuff in here, but I always put things back in the same place, and then it's organized. I can find them easy. We use clothespins for multiples of reasons, and these are in here because I use them for most of the time for bag clips, but I've used them for other things as well. These are a good thing to have on hand. And the bottom drawer is where I keep my linens, towels, dish towels, and dishcloths. Now I like a little variety on some things, so I also keep other towels up here in a Ziploc bag for different seasons, so that I have a little bit of variety. I can change things out and not get bored having the same ones all the time. So while we're in this cupboard, I'll show you this too. We do not use a lot of paper plates, very, very seldom. It's usually if we're on a travel day and we pull over somewhere at a rest area or in a parking lot or something somewhere, and we want to have a sandwich or just some kind of a snack, we'll use those then. Otherwise, we very seldom use those because it's wasting paper, it's wasting trees, it's wasting money. It's just not something that you really need to have a lot on hand. If you are camping on a weekend, you might have a lot of paper plates, but we don't. These will last us a long time. RVs are notorious for having a lot of wasted space. And up behind all of this, it goes way back there. So that's a good place to keep things that you hardly ever use, but you just want to keep them on hand to use once in a while. That's where you store that kind of stuff. The things that you're going to use most often are things you want to have the most accessible. This is where our water bottles are. We use those every day. Down here, we have our coffee mugs. Cup cozies make great things for dividing your dishes so nothing breaks. They can be used as cushion over here. I have a little extension rod here that goes all the way across, and that keeps things from here from shifting into this. That's where I keep my ice cube trays that I hardly ever use except in the summer. That's where I keep a bigger stock pot that I don't use very often either, and a big salad bowl for like potlucks if we're at a church with a potluck or something. Those stack inside each other up there, and I don't use them very often, so they get tucked in the back. We like a glass of wine once in a while, and you probably maybe do too. Cup cozies again. These are stemless. We got these from our son when he went to Australia. They work perfect for keeping these from breaking. So when we are going down the road, we keep them stored in the cup cozy, and it's in just the right cushioning, so if they bang into each other, they don't break. We only have Kernel plates because they don't break, and they're lightweight. You don't want to have stoneware in an RV because they take up a lot of room and they're heavy. So we have 4 dinner plates, 4 serving snack plates, 4 cereal bowls, and 4 bigger, like for salads, big salads and things like that. Underneath the refrigerator is where I keep glass containers. I do not like using plastic. I use plastic as seldom as I possibly can. And I like to store food in glass, especially if it's hot or leftovers. I don't want to be putting them in plastic. And I certainly don't want to be freezing them in plastic. To keep them from breaking, I bought 2 pot holders for $1 at the Dollar Tree, and they tuck in so well. I've had these now for going on 4 years, and I've not broken a single dish yet. This one is a bigger pan that I hardly ever use, but once in a great while I might use it for something I'm making in the oven or for baking something. So that's up there, and then I keep this between them so that this doesn't break that. The cover's all stacked nicely here. The more things you can get that stack inside each other, the better. They take up a lot less room. These are rectangle ones. The first 2 worked really well with just the square pot holders again, but the bottom one was longer, and I just happened to have a rectangle shaped pot holder in my home before we moved into the RV, and I just used that for the bottom one. Keeping things by category is another really good way to organize. You don't have to have a lot of compartments for them. Just keep them in a category of some kind. So for instance, in this cupboard, I have what's left of pea protein powder, and then I have a new one in the back there. This is our magnesium that we take every night. Highly recommend taking magnesium. Like 80% of people are deficient in magnesium, and it makes such a huge difference for so many health issues. It's awesome. Anyway, that's another story. But then in here I keep our coconut oil, and we have honey, and some things that can tip over easy are in a basket that I just happen to have on hand. Up above are my shaker bottles, because the protein powders are down here, so it makes sense to put those together. And then my recipe box, which I hardly ever look at, and my spinner for my salad, making salads. I keep these easily accessible because we use them often. This cupboard has, here's oatmeal. This is our seed mixture, which has seeds and nuts and chia and hemp seed and sprouted pumpkin seeds. I will put in the description below, I will put all the ingredients that I put in this. We use 2 tablespoons of this in our oatmeal or in another cereal. If we make cornmeal or something like that, you can use them on, you can put it on top of your salads. It's a really healthy mix of seeds. And then I have my measuring cups. I only have these 2. I use these all the time. The ones you saw in the drawer below, I use them rarely. I might be taking those out this summer. We have some dried fruit. We have back here, I don't have them in little stackable things like these because they take up too much room. So I have them just going from front to back. I have my quinoa, I have lentils, and I have my wild rice. And those are the 3 that we eat the most often. And they just go from front to back, and that works really well. You don't have to put them in other containers. But something I do put in different containers are our tea bags, because tea bags take up a lot of room. And so instead of stacking all these boxes on top of each other, like we just bought some new boxes a couple days ago, instead of doing that, we put them in bags. So you can see my black tea only was down to 1 left. So now I've got new tea bags put in there. And you can see at a glance how much you have. You don't even have to open the box. You can just pick it up and see that you don't have very much. My favorite tea is this Tulsi Masala Chai. And then we have peppermint, which is a good one for after dinner. And throat coat is what Gary uses when he's preaching and everything. If you're new to our channel, you maybe don't know, Gary is a retired pastor, and we are currently in Tyler, Texas. He just finished up serving about a 3-month vacancy here, and now the new pastor just started this last Sunday, so we're retired again. And Gary uses this traditional medicinal throat coat. It's really good in case you're doing speaking, public speaking, or singing, or anything like that. Throat coat is a really good one. I also keep my raw cocoa up here too. Cocoa powder. It can be used for baking or whatever, but I use it in my coffee, and that was in the last video as well. You can watch that. So we have 3 bags of different teas to do right now to transfer them into plastic bags, and then I'll get rid of the boxes. Another reason to keep these out of the original boxes and put them in Ziplocs is because it helps to protect them against moisture. And in an RV, you'll often have problems with moisture, and we've done videos on that as well, on condensation. You'll have to check that out. So I take them out of the boxes. It protects them by putting them in this. And because they're all individually wrapped, I don't worry so much about them being in plastic in this case. We keep our fruit or whatever on the counter over here. And then next to my driftwood, in my only decorative space that I have in the whole thing, in the whole RV. From this cupboard, we go over to this one, which is above Gary's side of the bench seat. So it's not real easy to get into. I don't want to put anything in here that I'm going to use every day. Up on the top, I have my seed mixture individual packages that when we're out of that seed mix that I showed you in the glass jar, then that's where I can get that down and I can refill them. This is where the toaster goes. We kept this from the original packaging that it came in to keep it in place. These little rubbery things here is what we use for shelf liners. That is the smartest, best thing you can do if you're going to be lining your shelves, and I hope you do, just to protect them underneath. Make sure you get these rubbery things because they really keep things from sliding around. They work really well. And then again, we have things in the far back here that we don't use very often. I don't even know what's back there right now. We don't use it that often. And on the top as well. They go way back up in there. We have a thermos up there that we showed you in our video on how we survived the Texas winter storm. And I was glad we had that. So keeping things that you use often more accessible, and things that you don't use as often, put them in cupboards or places that you don't have to get into a lot. Above the bench seat is where we keep stuff like snacking things, like gluten-free pretzels, or Gary has Tostito chips every day for lunch. So those go up in here. To put these in baskets doesn't always work, because sometimes we get really tall things and then they wouldn't fit in here. So we've just gotten by just putting them on here in from front to back or from side to side, just slip things in there. And then this is where we keep our chocolate, our dark chocolate. In the summertime, we keep it in the refrigerator. We have our vitamins and supplements up here. We don't take any prescription drugs. We've never needed them. Hope we never do. We just really use our supplements a lot. And then there's some things that we keep behind here. Things that we don't use every day, like I have a little thing of sugar back there. I don't use sugar very often for anything. So I just keep that in a place I don't need it every day. These are olives that we use on our pizza when we make pizza. Gluten-free pizza. Next to that is on my side of the bench seat, up above. This is where I keep canned goods, but I don't keep a lot of canned goods up here because it'd be too heavy. So you want to keep that in mind. Keep your heavier things low and your lighter things high. These are smaller cans, so I don't worry about that, and I don't have a ton of them. This is where I keep my nut mix. I have several different kinds of nuts, and then I mix them together and put them into this jar. And we use that for our snacking on. We have our protein bars up there. I take them out of the box and put them in there to save space. And this shelf is expandable, and this works really nice. You can make it as long as you need to, and that really helps to fill up that dead space up there. Under the sink is where I keep my Instapot. Okay, it's not something that I use every single day. So I don't have room to keep it on top on my counter. It's heavy, so it's on the bottom. Again, I kept what it came in the container because I don't want it bumping into anything on the hot water heater in the back. I keep cleaning supplies in the back. They're all very concentrated, and so I have spray bottles with the diluted in other places in the RV, but that's where I keep the main things to mix them with. And in the wastebasket, we don't have room for a great big wastebasket, and we don't like to carry a lot of garbage around anyway. But for storage reasons, I keep the bags underneath so that they're always right there when you empty a bag, you take the bag out, and then you can just grab the new one right from underneath there. Then you don't have to worry about where you're going to store it. All right, now back to the bench seats. Underneath mine, I have a place to keep my bigger pots. My vegetable steamer basket goes in here too. And this is the cover that goes to a frying pan that's in the oven. It doesn't fit in there, so I just keep it in here. Underneath the other side, we do not buy bottled water, by the way. We have a Berkey water system, and when we try to always keep a couple gallons on hand, so we just keep them in these big gallon jugs. We go through a lot of water. On this side we have a door, and if you can, and if you have the empty space under your bench, if it's just dead space, In this case, ours goes all the way through. On the other side, on the very far end, is a door that you can get into from outside. So we have two ways of getting in underneath this bench. I keep a basket of extra food that we've stocked up on that we're not ready to put in the refrigerator or whatever yet, and because it's not open, and then I just pull it out as we need them. But if you can put a door on like that, that would maybe be a real big help for you, because otherwise you have to lift the bench seat up, and that's what a lot of RVs, that's why they're designed, is to lift up the bench seat to get underneath. If you can put a door on it, that would be a great idea. And one last thing, this is behind Gary's bench seat, is another storage area. RVs have a lot of storage, but knowing how to use them the best way is key. We actually made these a little bigger. They were kind of small. As I recall, when we first bought this, it was pretty little, and we made them a lot bigger to get into things a lot easier. This is where I keep plastic bags. We use Ziploc bags for a lot of things. It's great for storing things. We even in the bigger ones, we put our shoes and keep our shoes in big Ziploc bags. So those are something we always have on hand. And then we have our wax paper and our aluminum foil and stuff like that under there. And then I have some more storage containers back here. And then back there, I keep spare glass jars. I use them to put cut up onion in, that if I don't use a whole onion and I put it in the refrigerator, I have a jar for that. I have a little jar down there with the black cover. That one I use when I make my homemade tartar sauce. And then we have a few extra grocery items in here that have not been used yet, and we'll move them out of there when we're ready to open them. Well, I hope you liked that, and I hope you found that there were some ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of before. I'll bet you some of you have some ideas that you might want to share, and if you do, please share them in the comments down below, and we can all learn together. Did you finish the deck?
Yes, and it didn't even rain on it yet. Things are going well.
I think the rain's going to be holding out for a little while. We've had a lot of rain, a lot of interesting weather here in Tyler, and I guess it's kind of been unseasonable most of the winter.
Yeah.
If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below, and next to it a little bell is going to pop up. Ring the bell, click on all, and then you will be notified every time new videos come out. Check out our Facebook page for more ideas and more features, and until next time, God bless.